Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast, an outreach of Greater Works Christian Church here in Lancaster, California. I am your host, Robert Enos. If you like what you hear, visit us at gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Find the Table Flippers link, click on it, and you'll get to our merchandise. Now, get ready for a huge dose of truth and a huge dose of common sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chippy the Chipmunk, and I have a message for all of you today. Don't be a liberal, because liberals are stupid.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grandmas, grandpas, in-laws, outlaws, aunts, uncles, and anybody else that I have forgot to mention, you cousins. Welcome, cousins, to Table Flippers Podcast. Are you ready for some more absurd news? Now, I'm going to read an article and then some stats that I found that will go along with this article. But get ready to be amazed at the absolute stupidity, again, of the left. I hate to keep hammering on this, but ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we all need to understand. We all need to come to terms with this, that the left, Democrats, the woke crowd, the liberals, they're mental. They're mentally deranged. They're off the hinge. They need some serious help, okay? And one of the problems why they can't get help is because the very people they go to help for think just like them. Or they went for something and then they turned out even worse because of all these woke psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists and such. And this is just absolutely getting ridiculous. My few podcasts that I did just recently on some of the absurdity of woke ideology. You know, if you have a clean pantry, you're a racist. Because animals are leaving predominantly black neighborhoods, white people, you're racist. Because you drive your car, just drive your car. You could be on the freeway driving your car through a predominantly black neighborhood, you're racist. This is how silly it's getting. And I want to read this article, and on one hand, it's just as silly, yet on the other hand, it's very sobering because of where this took place and with whom this took place. This article is from Fox News, and it was published today, March 23rd, 2023. It's funny, right now I'm looking at the time, and it says 2:51 p.m., but this was actually published at 4:21 p.m. You may say, how can that happen? Well, that was on the East Coast. So this is brand new. This is not that old. It's only about 30 minutes, or I don't remember exactly the time change, but it's not old. This is brand new. Within the last, hour or so, couple of hours maybe, on the East Coast. And it says this, let me try that again. Pentagon diversity chief receives no disciplinary action after probe into anti-white posts. Goes on to say the Pentagon's diversity, equity, and inclusion chief, Kalisa Wing, said, "If another Karen tells me about her feelings, I might lose it." This article was written and published by Hannah Grossman of Fox News. Let me read this. Exclusive. The Pentagon said it will issue no disciplinary action to its former diversity, equity, and inclusion chief, Kalisa Wing, over a series, not just one, but a series of divisive statements about white people, according to a Thursday letter to Representative Elise Stefanik's office, who sits on the House Armed Service Committee. Wing was appointed as diversity, equity, and inclusion chief at the Pentagon's Education Wing, the Department of Defense Education Activity, DoD EA, in 2021. She was involved in curriculum at DoD EA, which services over 60,000 military-connected children at 160 schools around the globe. So let me stop right there for just a moment. First, everybody admits that this woman wrote these, how does it say exactly here? A series, not just one, but a series of divisive statements about white people. So that's code, ladies and gentlemen. That's code that she doesn't like white people, and she was very racist towards white people, okay? So she had a series of divisive statements about white people. And this woman was in charge of the DODEA, which is the Department of Defense Education Activity. She was appointed in 2021, and she oversaw this curriculum, certain curriculums at the DODEA, which services over 60,000 military-connected children in 160 schools around the globe. I wanted to point that out because as I read this article, understand this wasn't just merely somebody who would teach or train or whatever, have an influence over adults, but children. Over 60,000, as this article says. Over 60,000 children are directly influenced by this woman and her ideology against white people. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Wing has stated that her goal was to tear down the system in education. When asked about whether it was time for a racial reckoning and revolution, she responded in the affirmative. So this woman wanted a racial reckoning and a revolution. You know, I one time called for a revolution, and I went on this long list of things about what I was calling a revolution: getting out, voting, doing rallies, standing up for your rights, writing letters, making phone calls to your representatives. And I was blasted by other pastors, my peers. I was blasted by other church leaders for calling for violence. And I said, I never called for violence. You said a revolution. Well, a revolution, see, when I think of a revolution, that means things are turning around, because that's what revolution, it revolves, it's a revolution. That's what it means to me, it's turning around. Yes, you can do that violently, or you can do that peacefully. So I don't know what she means when she is saying, yes, it's time for a revolution. So I'm assuming it's just a nice, quiet, peaceful revolution. Let me go on. It says, Wing was put under probe by the Pentagon on September 17th over tweets which referred to white people as Karens. Now there I can't argue too much with her, because I know a lot of white people that act like Karens, okay? You know, that's the name for people that are always just, have no common sense and they're getting in your face on something. Anyways, it says, I'm exhausted at these white fox in these sessions or professional development sessions. Let me read that again. Some of this, I think somebody didn't really proofread this too well. So let me just read what it says exactly. I'm exhausted at these white fox in these professional development sessions, she said. This lady actually had the audacity to say that black people can be racist too. I had to stop the session and give Karen the business. We are not the majority. We don't have power, Wing said in a tweet. Okay, let me read the next statement. It says, caudacity is a slang term that is used to describe audacity demonstrated by white people. So I guess they're throwing Caucasian and audacity together, caudacity, which kind of makes sense. But anyways, I want to stop right here, and I hope this lady actually listens to this podcast, because she made a huge mistake. She made a huge mistake, and she needs to take a long look in the mirror. Okay, now, I don't care that she says that there's some white Karens out there. That doesn't bother me so much, because that's the truth. But she said this lady, and this is in parentheses, okay, so this lady actually had the audacity to say that black people can be racist too. I had to stop the session and give Karen the business. We are not the majority. We don't have power, Wing said in a tweet. It sounds to me, Miss Wing, that you are the actual Karen in this situation, because here a woman is just telling the truth. Racism doesn't belong just to white people or people in the majority. Racism is a condition, a failed, weak condition, but nonetheless a condition of the heart that expresses itself in action and in this case, word and language. So someone that stands up and says, well, wait a minute, black people can be racist too, is absolutely true. Absolutely correct. Everybody has the propensity to be a racist. Everybody has that in them. I'm not saying everybody is. I'm just saying everybody can be. It's a condition of the heart that is expressed in action and word. And so when you said you stopped that meeting and had to talk to this Karen, you had to give the Karen the business. Miss Wing, you actually are the Karen. You became the Karen in that scenario. And a racist Karen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I said it. Miss Wing is a racist Karen because she is expressing all the qualities of a racist and a Karen at the same time and trying to push it off on white people. This is ridiculous. Miss Wing, you are ridiculous. You are an embarrassment to the United States. You should be an embarrassment to yourself. You are certainly an embarrassment to the DOD, and I hope that they're smart enough to see it. But as I read this article earlier, I could see that they're not. So anyways, let me go on. And she even said the caudacity, Caucasian audacity. You have the caudacity to say that. Like I said, on one hand, it's really funny because these people are so, because of their left leaning, I hate to say it. I'm just going to be honest, though. They become so stupid, they become funny. All right. And it's almost like, again, like I'm reading a comedy skit. But what sobers me up when I stop and realize, wait, this is serious. There's actually people in our world breathing our air, drinking our water, living on our planet, taking up space, that believe this. This is mind-boggling. Anyways, let me go on. It says, on another occasion, Wing responded to a user who said, I am exhausted. So this is her response to somebody else. I am exhausted by 99% of the white men in education and 95% of white women. Where can I get a break from white nonsense for a while? Again, that's completely racist. Flip the script on that and try to have a white person say that or write that about black people. And let me tell you, that person's life would be ruined. Wing responded, if another Karen tells me about her feelings, I might lose it. Again, I would agree with that statement if I didn't understand where it was going towards just white people in a racist slant, but I would agree. I don't want to hear Karens and their feelings. Anyways, the Pentagon repeatedly dragged its feet at releasing the findings of the investigation. The Undersecretary of Personnel and Readiness, Gil Cisneros, was presented with the findings starting in October. Cisneros said Thursday that the Pentagon determined the employee was speaking in a personal capacity. As a result, the director DOD DEA took no disciplinary action. Separately, as part of the headquarters restructuring, the employee was reassigned to another position that does not include diversity, equity, and inclusion specific responsibilities. This is such a huge cop-out because, again, ladies and gentlemen, if a white person goes on a rant against black people for any reason, or Hispanics, or Asians, Native Americans, anybody that doesn't share their white skin color. It doesn't matter if it was personal in a tweet, off company time, or on company time. It doesn't matter. They would be drugged through the streets. Their life would be ruined. How do I know this? We've seen this over and over and over again. And I'm not trying to give a pass for racist comments and racism at all. What I'm saying is if it needs to be treated correctly. If white people can't get away with this, this woman shouldn't be able to get away with this. If it's racism and it's bad coming out of a white person's mouth, it should be the same coming out of a black person's mouth, and a Hispanic person's mouth, an Asian person's mouth, anybody else. Racism is racism, ladies and gentlemen. And if it's harmful in one segment of society, it's harmful in every segment of society. And until we really understand that and get a grip on this, we're not stopping or hindering racism. What we're doing is we're creating more of it with this stupidity and this foolishness by going to this woke liberal stupidity. And in the DOD, the Department of Defense, this is the department that's supposed to be about defending this nation against its enemies. What in God's name do they have someone like this woman with this position teaching this garbage in the DOD? If you got racists in there and they're causing problems, just fire them. Don't try to teach them this woke garbage. Just get rid of them. And hire somebody that's not a racist that will just do their job defending this nation. Why is this so hard for people to figure out? Liberals, why is it so hard for you to figure this garbage out? I'll tell you why. Because your heads are not where they're supposed to be. Your brain is not where it's supposed to be. This made me remember this little meme that I saw, and there was these two aliens flying in a spaceship over the earth. And the one alien says to the other alien, "Hey, boss, we have a problem here." He says, "Yeah, what's the problem?" He says, "Well, all those probes that we've been doing, trying to probe the brain of these humans." He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we just realized their brain is in their head. We've been probing the wrong area." And then the boss alien literally scratches his bottom and says, "Well, that's a head scratcher," as he's scratching his bottom. Apparently, that's where their brains are. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why thinking of foolish, liberal, and wokeism nonsense made me think of that meme. But if I say it's a head scratcher, I literally scratch my head. Some of you woke liberals, you might be scratching your bottom. I'm just saying, because this is how foolish you sound. This is how ridiculous you sound. You listen to Joe Biden and think he's the best president ever. And everybody else who, again, when they say scratch their head, they literally scratch their head, not their bottom. So the rest of us look at you, look at Biden, and look at the whole situation, this garbage situation that he's created, and wonder, did we miss something? And the reality of it is, no, we did not. Because we still have this thing called common sense. Why do we have this? Because, again, I know where our brains are, right between our ears where they belong. Right between our ears where they belong. Let me go on, ladies and gentlemen. It says, the article goes on to say, she denied her posts were divisive state. Of course she would deny that. Woke liberals can't admit to anything in reality land. Anyway, she said, she denied her posts were divisive, stating, "No, I did not make disparaging comments against white people." Really? I just read a few. I would never categorize an entire group of people to disparage them. Really? I just read them. As a result of these tweets, 22 House Republicans, notice it was the House Republicans, not Democrats, not the woke crowd. This is mind-boggling, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, 22 House Republicans demanded immediate action to investigate the former diversity chief for egregious bias. This woke ideology is destroying our military and poisoning the minds of American children, Representative Elise Stefanik, Republican of New York, had said. If President Biden wants to know why he has a recruitment problem and low morale, he need look no further, Senator Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas, commented. This is very intentional. They've put her in this place because the Defense Department is another institution that the Biden administration has every intention of tearing down, former CIA Director Mike Pompeo said. And ladies and gentlemen, I totally agree with this. We see the systematic destruction of all of these institutions that once made this country great. And they're trying to destroy our military, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, the Department of Education, all of these areas, all of these departments, all of these things that have helped make this country what it is. And as great as it is, they're trying to tear down with this kind of nonsense. And ladies and gentlemen, this is it's interesting that the quote unquote woke liberals, those left leaners, you guys are just pawns in a game. This is how stupid you are. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know how else to tell you the truth without just saying it straightforward. It's absurd to think. You have become such pawns in this game. They don't care about you. The people in government don't care about the Hillary crowd doesn't care about you. The Clintons don't care about you. Biden and his people don't care about you. All they care about is using you to press and push their agenda. You are a pawn. You are a puppet. You are a plaything. And when they're done with you, they will throw you away as trash because they don't want you. They don't need you. Listen, I'm just going to be honest and with you. They don't need a bunch of weirdos around them after they get what they want. They only need you to get what they want. And then once they get the power that they really want, you are discarded as trash. That's just the honest truth. History proves this over and over and over and over again, that when the government or people in power do these types of things in this manner, they do them using pawns and puppets, sheep that just follow their lead. But once they get what they want, they're discarded. That's the history of all communism. That's the history of all Marxism. That's the history of true socialism. That once those in power get what they want, the little guy is just tossed aside because he's no longer needed. He is insignificant. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a left-leaner, if you are a woke liberal, if you are a Democrat supporter, it's not long before they're going to toss you aside when they get what they want. And you can even look. How many times, listen, I know I'm off script a little bit here, but it's for a purpose and a reason. I couldn't tell you how many times after Barack Obama was president and people, they did the man on the street, they did these interviews, and they would approach on purpose African Americans and say, hey, what do you think of Obama, the job that he did? Many of them, maybe not all, but many of them said he was the worst president ever. What did he do for us? He came in with all these promises, and the black community is no better than before he came in. He did nothing for us but use us. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even trying to just hammer on Barack Obama. That's, for the most part, every Democrat, every liberal, every Democrat. Once they get into power and they get what they need, they don't visit you. They don't work for you. They don't help you. And here's the thing that makes me say it's absolute stupidity, because you keep voting for them. You keep putting them in power. You keep lifting them up like they're the best thing since sliced cheese. And what are they doing? They're hurting you. They're harming you in the long run. Make all kinds of empty promises. They lie to your face, tell you what they're going to give you, and in the end, what do you get? Nothing. So let me go on with this. In June 2021, Biden signed an executive order which reinvigorated the approach first established in the Biden administration and directed all federal agencies to establish or elevate chief diversity officers among their priorities. I mean, come on. That in and of itself. So this started with Obama. It went now to Biden in his presidency to push to establish and elevate chief diversity officers. Why? That's absolutely ridiculous. That's an agenda being pushed, and you people just keep falling into it, keep falling for it, keep voting for it. And again, who gets harmed? Well, we all do, but you put yourself out there. You should be embarrassed by this. You woke liberals, you should be absolutely embarrassed by this. Anyways, let me back up. I'm going to take a deep breath now. Okay, let me go on. A few months later, Wing was selected for the high-ranking position that was involved in every aspect of the Pentagon's School for Military-Connected Children, including curriculum, professional development, and hiring. So this woman had a pretty big job, and she's this much of a racist? And that didn't bother anybody? Anyways, let's go on. Fox News Digital also found out that on 2 occasions, Wing promoted the anti-police book, Between the World and Me, by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think I'm saying that name correctly. While representing herself as an employee of the Pentagon's education wing. So as an employee of the education wing. Anyways, this lady, Wing, promotes an anti-police book. Coates called in 9/11 responders menaces. He said they were not human to me, black, white, or whatever. They were menaces of nature. They were the fire, the comet, the storm, which could, with no justification, shatter my body. Now it says he said, so I am assuming this Ta-Nehisi Coates is a man, because it said he said. So anyways, so this man didn't like the 9/11 responders, called them menaces. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, it's one thing to have, some thoughts about your local police department and its employees. But when you call the people that are literally saving people's lives and running into danger, not maybe danger, not there could be danger, but actual buildings are falling down, toxic fumes, fires, all of this, and they're running into it to do their best to save as many lives as possible. And this guy calls them menaces, and this lady, Miss Wing, who works for the DOD, now supports this guy and his book this anti-police book. This is ridiculous. And she works for the DOD, the Department of Defense. What is going on in our country that these pansy, weak, left-leaning sissies are running the show? It's no wonder that right now our military is being so sissified that if we went to war, there's going to be a lot of needless deaths simply because much of I'm not going to say all, I have a high respect for our military. But when they're trying to pansy it out and sissify it, what's going to happen if we actually have to send them into battle? And they're not mentally, emotionally, or physically prepared for it. There's going to be a lot of needless deaths of American servicemen because the wrong people were there trying to do that job. And we see this because at the top of the DOD, they put this kind of woman in there in the Department of Defense. This is strange. This is really strange. Anyways, let me go on. It says Wing also advocated for Between the World and Me to be used in classrooms in 2018. The Pentagon was one of the targets of radical Islamic terrorists on September 11th. 125 people in the Pentagon, 59 people aboard American Flight 77 were killed. Wing has also co-created children's books that said the white people must confess their privilege and were de facto hurting black people by being benefactors of unearned advantages. White privilege hurts a lot of people. If you are white, you must feel bad about hurting others, or you might feel afraid to lose this privilege. The book, What is White Privilege, said. It said that overcoming white privilege is a job that must start with the white community. Will you really feel good at the end of the race when you look back and see others fighting obstacles that you didn't even have? The book added. The book was reportedly taken down for review along with other radical left titles by a Florida district, according to a nonprofit that monitors books taken down from the shelves. Honored to be involved with work that causes good trouble, Wing said on Twitter about the report. This whole idea of white privilege, ladies and gentlemen, is just really getting ridiculous. It really is getting ridiculous. Anyways, let me go on. It says, what is white privilege? Also encourages white kids to unpack their backpack of privilege and referenced an article by Peggy McIntosh that said that white women are justly seen as oppressive and enjoyed unearned skin privilege. McIntosh's article also lamented that white students are not taught in schools to see themselves as an oppressor, a participant in damaged culture, and unfairly advantaged. Well, praise God for that, because the white students are not that. They're not oppressors. They are not participants in a damaged culture, and they are not unfairly advantaged. They are students. They are children. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. You see, these left-leaning woke liberals can't take their message to adults, to the people they're supposed to, because they're too weak. They are too weak, too weak-minded, too weak-hearted, and their arguments are too weak. So how are they going to get their message out? They have to take them to impressionable school children and force it on them. That's how cowardly the left is. That's how cowardly Democrats are. That's how cowardly the woke people are. These left-leaners, they are cowards to the core. There's no strength in them. There's no real courage in them. They're cowards. This is unbelievable. Anyways, let me go on. The book provides children with an assignment to create an identity map and question what parts of my identity have provided me with privilege. The book also stated that white people must spend their privilege by becoming social justice activists. Address how your identity can help you achieve racial justice. This is ridiculous. There is hope. By learning more about white privilege, we can work to spend it, the book said. Privilege is like extra money in your pocket that you didn't earn. Let me say that. Let me read that again. Privilege is like extra money in your pocket that you didn't earn. So being elevated to this major position in the DOD, being an absolute racist, are you trying to tell me you earned that position? Because I could tell you you didn't. You didn't. You didn't. So what about this liberal privilege, huh? What about that liberal privilege? Ladies and gentlemen, there's liberal privilege out there. Why? We're reading about it right now. This lady says all of this hateful things towards white people, all these racial slurs towards white people. She's trying to indoctrinate our children, brainwash our children that if they're white, that they have to hate themselves, for being white, and she gets a free pass. She's getting a free pass. How's that for liberal privilege, ladies and gentlemen? Woke privilege. Again, this is disgusting. This really is disgusting. Wing has also co-written a children's book about defunding the police, in which she explains to a young audience the difference between abolishing, defunding, disbanding, and reforming police with anti-racist policies. Some of Wing's children's books she created contain misleading information or glaring omissions. For example, what is Black Lives Matter? Said almost all the protests after George Floyd's murder were peaceful. However, according to Axios, the pro-BLM riots that erupted in 2020 amounted to more than $1 billion in damages, the most expensive in insurance history. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the truth. And that's the kind of stuff that we really need to know. Oh, it was mostly peaceful. Well, maybe there's one or two people that got out of hand, but it was mostly peaceful. Yeah, that mostly peaceful riots amounted to more than $1 billion in damages. Yeah, over $1 billion. Billion with a B in damages because of BLM, Black Lives Matter riots. Yeah, let's go on. When Wing was promoted to chief in December 2021, the DoD said Wing has been involved with diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts for students in schools over many years, authorizing several books on the topic. So what they're admitting to is that they are so stupid they couldn't see through this woman for who she is, or they didn't care. They're either really stupid or they didn't care. That should concern every American, regardless of your skin color, your race, or which way you lean, right or left. That should concern every one of us, that they either did not care that this woman was a racist, or they were too stupid to see it. Either way, that means that these people in the DoD that put her in that position and gave her that rubber stamp of approval were either too stupid or didn't care, and because of that they are disqualified to be part of the Department of Defense. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to start putting our foot down and say enough's enough. The director of the DoDEA, Thomas Brady, remember that, Thomas Brady said Kalisa Wing is exactly the right person to lead our efforts in building on the foundational work done to support meaningful change in our organization. This new position will take a holistic approach to identifying and improving how we integrate the practice of diversity, equity, and inclusion in every aspect of DoDEA, from curriculum and assignment to hiring and professional development, he continued. And that's the end of the article. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I added so much to that because I just have to stop and give my opinion on the foolishness that I'm reading. But ladies and gentlemen, this should bother everybody. This should bother everybody, because it doesn't matter. Racism is racism, regardless of the person that it comes from and regardless of who it goes towards. Racism is racism, and it shouldn't be propped up in any way in our culture and society. And everywhere that racism rears its ugly head, it should be put back down. And that includes Miss Wing, who was hired by the DoD, to try to curb racism. You don't put a racist in there to try to stop racism. It doesn't work that way. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't work that way. If you want to stop racism, curb racism in the DoD, number one, you got rules against it. When it rears its ugly head by people, fire them. Get rid of them. It's as easy as that. And in the meantime, I have to go with what Morgan Freeman said. If you want to stop racism, stop talking about it. You guys make it such a big deal and you push racism on certain classes and certain people, and then you're stirring up and creating racism, all in the name of ending racism. It's absurd. It is absurd. It's ridiculous. And I don't understand how these woke people are honestly this dumb. I really don't. I don't understand it. Woke liberalism. It is check your brain at the door and don't ever use it again. You know, that's woke. That's what you have to do to be a woke liberal. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just being honest. It's just being true. I'm hoping that this isn't offending anybody, but if it's offending you, well, maybe you need to look in the mirror and really check yourself. Maybe you're too left-leaning, because this is absolutely absurd and ridiculous.
I like liberals because I like nuts.
Thank you for joining us at Table Flippers. I truly appreciate you. You can write me at gwccrobert@gmail.com. That's gwccrobert@gmail.com. Please let me know how I'm doing. Remember to pick up some of our merchandise. You can find the link at gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Until next time, be continually blessed.
Chippy the Chipmunk loves table flippers.